Right after Pierre Gasly grabbed the Alpine seat, Ricciardo decided that his best bet was taking a year out of F1 and coming back in 2024. But it turns out he might not have a lot of options lined up for him in 2024. In this video, we're going to check out his best bet for a 2024 Formula 1 return and see why Romain Grosjean wants him to switch to IndyCar in the upcoming season. First off, Daniel Ricciardo's made it pretty clear that he won't be on the F1 grid next season. The final news came out right after Pierre Gasly took the vacant Alpine seat for 2023. In fact, since the most competitive drive available for the next season was taken up, the Australian was left with Haas and Williams as his 2023 drive. Now, we should make it clear now that losing a driver of Ricciardo's pedigree, talent, and popularity in Formula 1 is definitely the sport's loss. At the same time, there can't be an automatic assumption that a seat is going to be waiting for him in 2024, so his reluctance to take a lesser drive to maintain his presence on the grid could very well backfire. In fact, the same goes for his additional hesitation to opening himself up to racing opportunities elsewhere, because he's pretty determined to stay dedicated to Formula 1 for as long as he possibly can. At the end of the day, there's absolutely no way of knowing whether or not driving for Haas or Williams next year would see him working out the problems he faced at McLaren. On the other hand, a year on the sidelines just might be good for him to clear his head. It's more like one step backward for two steps forwards, as he puts it. But if he really wants a competitive drive to come his way right after a year away, that's far from guaranteed. Following up, there aren't a lot of options lining up for Ricciardo. At the very front, all four Red Bull and Ferrari drivers are contracted right until the end of 2022, and it's the same for George Russell at Mercedes. As for Lewis Hamilton, he's already confirmed his long-term intention to stay beyond the end of his current deal. So that pretty much rules out the current top three cars on the grid for him to take on. Now, for Esteban Ocon, his long-term contract also combines with Gasly's multi-year agreement to complete Alpine's 2024 lineup. On the other hand, Zhou Guanyu's contract at Alfa Romeo is going to see him through 2023, but a slot next to Valtteri Bottas could also be up for Ricciardo. And with an Audi Sauber operation rumored for the future, heading to a team with a big brand might be the most viable option for him, at least the one with the longer-term potential. And while we're talking about huge investments in an established brand, Aston Martin will also be off the cards for him, with Lance Stroll's ongoing contract along with Fernando Alonso's multi-year deal. That particular door is slammed shut for the Australian. Adding to that, having served the senior team so well at Red Bull, dropping back into the sister AlphaTauri team isn't his ideal choice either. Not to mention, despite being his only option, he's not interested in Haas or Williams. Now, even though both teams had a seat that could have been Ricciardo's, it seems like he's got no interest in them at the moment. And eliminating all his options like that, one by one, it seems like Alfa Romeo might be the Australian's best and possibly only bet. But even then, this might not be a surefire solution for him. In fact, Sauber has their own junior talent waiting in the wings in Formula 2, talking about Theo Pourchaire, who's also going to be staking a claim. And let's not forget Zhou himself. In fact, if he continues to improve at the rate he's going over the second half of the season, he just might be able to keep a hold of the seat on his own merits. So by voluntarily stepping back altogether from Formula 1 next year, the 8-time race winner seems to be taking a big gamble. Only time will tell if it pays off. But for now, it sure seems like a long shot. What's more, Romain Grosjean wants Ricciardo to make his way to IndyCar next year. The former Haas driver did the exact same thing in 2021 when he was let go by the American F1 team. Ever since then, he joined Dale Coyne Racing and now wants Ricciardo to take the same step. Now, Grosjean isn't the only Formula 1 racer we've seen in the 2022 IndyCar season. In fact, we can definitely name a few, like Takuma Sato, Alexander Rossi, and Marcus Ericsson, who also took part. And if the decision was up to Grosjean, we'd see yet another one added to the list. Having said that, we are all still wondering what's next for the Honey Badger, who seems to have quite a few options around him, mostly outside F1. Frankly, Ricciardo hasn't kept his love of all things American a secret. In fact, with the driver spending plenty of time stateside during the off-season and his love for the United States Grand Prix, a move to racing in the very same country might be on the cards. As for now, NASCAR and IndyCar seem like the two most likely options. And Grosjean even tweeted that he'd love to see Ricciardo join him in IndyCar. On the other hand, any move seems unlikely to get off the ground. Rewind to what Ricciardo said during the Japanese Grand Prix weekend, that he's mentally not there yet when it comes to racing in other series. His heart's still at F1. It's more like just hitting pause for a little bit. Coming up, Ricciardo's not leaving F1 anytime soon. In fact, the Australian said, "As far as my F1 career goes, the full intention is for 2024. Clearly, racing anywhere else might seem like deviating away from his actual goal. As for now, he hasn't confirmed any plans of what he wants to do other than the fact that he's preparing an epic comeback in 2024. Having said that, one option to keep him in F1 is to become Mercedes' reserve driver. Honestly, the rumor continues to rumble on, although the 2009 world champion Jenson Button seems pretty much against it. In fact, after the Japanese Grand Prix, he said that being a third driver for someone of his caliber is definitely a pretty strange situation for the Australian. He's not too sure what the F1 driver's gonna get out of being a third driver anyway, so clearly it isn't a viable option. Now, a lot of people suggested that he could try positioning himself to replace Lewis Hamilton once the 7-time champion retires. That way, he could grab the Mercedes seat. But those hopes were soon gone right after the team boss Toto Wolff confirmed that Hamilton's not leaving anytime soon. If anything, he might even continue for another 5 years. So that's shutting the door on Ricciardo's chances completely. Up next, Alpine had absolutely no desire to re-sign Daniel Ricciardo for 2023. Looking for a driver to fill the void left by Fernando Alonso, Alpine never seriously entertained the possibility of re-signing Ricciardo for the upcoming season. And even after it had lost out on both Alonso and Oscar Piastri over the summer, it quickly set its eyes on Pierre Gasly to partner up with Esteban Ocon. While Alpine isn't directly responsible for Ricciardo taking a year off, it was definitely the last straw, because once the team took their offer off the table, it also removed his only seriously competitive option too. And that's what prompted him to stay on the sidelines until he got a better offer in 2024. Finally, Zach Brown hated making the tough decision about Ricciardo. We all know that the 8-time race winner never found his feet with McLaren during his 2-year spell with the team, and that's aside from a pretty exceptional win at the 2021 Italian Grand Prix. In fact, he struggled for consistency and space alongside his less experienced teammate Lando Norris. It turns out that staying on with McLaren had always been an option for the Australian, although it wasn't necessarily in F1. Brown explained that he hated the fact that Ricciardo wasn't able to adjust with the team. Instead, he offered the F1 driver a chance to drive for the team in IndyCar or Formula E. At the end of the day, he really wanted to hold on to Daniel and keep him in the family, and there were definitely a lot of negotiations along the way. On the other hand, the Australian's focus was set on Formula 1, and that's understandable. It's the pinnacle of motorsport after all. That's a wrap for this video. What's your take on Daniel Ricciardo's options for 2024? Do you think he should take up Romain Grosjean's advice and race for IndyCar in 2023? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.